So today's video is something very close to my heart and something that I wanted to make for a very long time, but the recent controversy with Tarte Cosmetics, especially the shade range and the new foundation formulas, has really pushed it a little bit. So today I'm making a video about skin color. So there are a few things that I want to talk about in this video. The first one is this whole obsession of lighter skin tone in India. The second is how beauty brands latch onto this or influence this mindset. And thirdly, I want to end this video with what you as a consumer and me as a consumer can do to influence this. So if you're new to my channel, you might not know, but I am a South Indian from the state of Kerala, so my native language is Malayalam. And when you speak to any Indian, it doesn't matter what state they come from, the assumption is that typically people of South Indian background or people belonging to those states have a darker skin tone or a complexion. Now, nothing wrong with that. We all have our skin tones dependent on where we live and how much sunlight we get and all of those factors. Given the fact that my dad was in the Indian Navy, I did change quite a bit of schools and there were more Naval, Air Force, Army kids. So we were kids from different parts of India. So one of the common questions was, where are you from? So many people just looking at me would assume I am from Punjab or Gujarat or these states which are associated with the lighter skin tones. And then when I would correct them saying that, no, I'm actually from the state of Kerala. And they would be like, oh, I thought you were a North Indian just based on your skin tone, that you are fair for being a South Indian. This, as a kid, it wasn't annoying me. I just thought it was funny that someone would think that everybody from a particular state or a region would be of a certain skin tone. So it didn't bother me much as a kid. But growing up, when you look back at such events, kind of makes you question the mindset of people and how they reach to certain conclusions. And then growing up, I definitely had family members, some very close family members who were just obsessed with lighter skin or looking fairer, therefore not going out in the sun as much or whatnot. Especially when it comes to the age of marriage, there's a whole list of things that can pop up. I had friends, I don't want to name them, but I had friends who wanted lighter skin tone partner, just so that the kids would be lighter in turn. I had friends who said they wouldn't touch a baby because the baby was a certain color. Or I would have friends who just said that they felt ugly because all the other members of their family are lighter than them. So I don't know. Thankfully, I came from a family where my parents were not talking about this, so I wasn't much influenced by these things, but it always made me wonder why people were so obsessed with looking a certain way. Especially for Indians, I know for sure that they are obsessed with looking lighter and fairer. We're all humans. We all have the same genetic makeup, and our skin tone is dependent on definitely our ancestry, so dependent on how our ancestors looked, which is also dependent on a variety of factors such as where did they come from. Were they in a place that didn't get much sunlight and therefore your skin tends to get lighter? Or did they come in from an area which got a lot of sun, so then their skin would have a ton of pigment to reflect off the light? Another factor that would come into play is what was their profession? Were they farmers? Where they had to be in the sun for a long time, so their skin would have to produce a lot of melanin and therefore would be darker to reflect off the sun's rays. Or were they indoors? So say, for example, certain castes are associated with having lighter skin tone. So, for example, Brahmins are supposed to have lighter skin tones in India. Can you try and understand why that would be? Because they were mostly indoors, not working out in the fields. Therefore, they did not get much exposure to the sun, and therefore, over the period of years or generations, the skin is lighter. So this kind of mentality can come from, for me, I think largely two things. One is how you've been raised, so you have people around you. What are they talking about? What are you hearing constantly, basically? So that gets imbibed into you and it gets into your system. Secondly, media plays a large role in this. So if you look at Indian advertisements, a lot of times these companies that sell fairness product they would have ads which show a sad-looking, dusky female who doesn't have a job, doesn't have a lover, doesn't have a husband, whatever. She doesn't have anything, basically. And she's sad and gloomy, and then when they purchase this magical potion or the fairness cream, they suddenly become lighter, obviously. And now they have success, they have a job, they have a husband, they have a lover, whatever they dreamed of, basically. So that's the kind of ads that's being played constantly on Indian television. This in turn makes you think that you can achieve these different things like success or husband or lover or whatever only if you are of a fairer or lighter skin tone, is what the ad is trying to sell. So when I was growing up, I would see only women ads like this, and recently in the past 5 or 6 years, I believe, they also have now these same crazy products for men. So as these ads keep playing on and on, they get into your head and you almost start thinking on the same or similar lines, intentionally or unintentionally. A good example would be, in Bollywood, when they are about to release a movie, what do? They release a few scenes and they play their songs from the movie. And they play it on every channel, every 5 minutes or so, it's the same song playing over and over and over and over again. So till you are saturated with that song. So by the time you are going to see the movie, you know these dialogues by heart and you also know these songs. So think of that when you're watching all these ads constantly on Indian television. Subconsciously, it does play a role in your mindset. So try and be aware of that. So just take a step back and think about, why do we want fair skin? If you're an Indian, question yourself. Is it because of what society tells you? Is it because of these advertisements that influence you? Why exactly do you want fairer skin? I think a part of this also came from being ruled by the British. You saw people in power or having a status being of a lighter skin tone and having light eyes. So I think that also got imbibed into our ancestors, who then passed it on to their children, and it's come down to us. So take a step back and think about why you really want to be fair, or why you think that fairness equals to success and better things in life. Shouldn't we all be proud of our achievements instead of something that was handed down to us with no choice whatsoever from our parents? Shouldn't you instead focus on what you have achieved as a person? Shouldn't you be focused on your, limited time on earth and, try and make an influence on someone's life in a positive, constructive form? In general, people want what they don't have. I've lived almost 10 years out of India in, nations filled with lighter skin tone people. And I've seen that they, on the other hand, want to bronze up their skin. So there is a whole market for, looking a certain tan skin tone. So it's just human psychology also playing a role into this mindset where, you want something that you don't have. Same with Bollywood. Just look at how many actresses actually make it with dusky or, not so fair skin tone, whereas the proportion of fairer actresses has gone up tremendously. In fact, it's sad to note that some of the dusky actresses who were pretty normal looking back in the day when they first started, a decade later or whatever down the line, they look like they have a totally different skin tone. It's truly sad that beauty is associated with fairer skin tone, especially in Bollywood and in Indian media. Next, I wanted to talk about certain brands that, do not cater to people of color. That includes me, that includes people of deeper skin tones. So when I was in the US, I personally didn't have too much to worry about when I had to go buy a foundation. There were a lot of brands that sold these medium shades, I would say, medium tan shades. So when I wanted to buy a foundation shade, yes, there were limited shade ranges in different brands, but that didn't affect me as much as when I went with my friends to a drugstore, actually to multiple drugstores, to find a shade for them. Actually, my friends, 2 of them, both are Africans, different part of Africa. So one has a much deeper skin tone, while the other one has a lighter African skin tone. But both are darker than my skin tone. So we just went out to pick some drugstore foundations for them. And that's when it hit me. You can't find a good match because Many of the brands don't even have shades for them. There's like one red foundation that's meant to suit so many dark skin tones. And that's how it hit me that I was totally unaware of this problem, that it existed. I don't buy much from Tarte anyway, just because I've always found them to cater to lighter and light medium skin tones only. So I don't buy much from them anyway, but when I saw the shade range, of course, I was like, okay, that's something I assumed from that brand. But what made me happy is that so many beauty influencers finally took the stand and spoke up against it. I think that is the first step to changing this consumerism and actually having products that cater to all skin tones. It's not that light and light medium skin tones are the only ones who have the money to spend on makeup. Everybody should have the equal access and right to a foundation. If you can't deliver, I mean, you shouldn't really launch a product. Especially if you're launching in a country with so many skin tones. It's not like only Caucasians live in America. So something especially true for Indian market is that one of the sales representative may try and sell you a shade that's not your skin tone. It's actually 2 or 3 or 5 shades lighter than you, but they'll try and tell you that, madam, this is going to make you look fairer. Do not go for this. Tell her that you're confident in your skin tone, you are beautiful, and you want something that matches you. And finally, I want to touch upon how you can influence it as a consumer, as I have. So what you can do as a consumer is to stop buying from brands that only cater to certain skin tones. I refuse to buy from any brand that does not cater to the wide spectrum of skin tones that we have on Earth. Tarte is what I can think of right on the top of my head. Also, It Cosmetics. Have you seen their foundation range? Not the new one, but the older ones. They hardly had like 2 or 3 shades. So that's another brand that I don't buy anymore from. Remember that everything starts with you. Nothing ever happened from hoping that someone would do something. Be that someone and do that something. Remember that there's only one of you, someone with your features, your skin tone. So you're truly unique. So just embrace that and embrace others. They are unique in their own way, and you may not like some things about a certain person. Don't let it be something that's based off of physical appearance. That is something you usually don't have a say in. We're all born with what we are passed on from our parents. So, unless of course you get some job done, but you know what I mean. It's not something they have actually achieved. So the next time you're judging someone for their appearance, think twice. I don't know if this video will mean much to most of you guys, but it's something that I wanted to talk about for a very long time, and I feel better now that I have. So, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!
Open eye, feel the waves cut through me.